Welcome to the Unspoken Files, the home of the darkest stories and the creepiest mysteries. If you're fascinated by true crime, ghostly encounters, and haunted artifacts, then you're in the right place. In the Unspoken Files, we dive deep into the most chilling and unexplainable events throughout history. Some things should never be uncovered, some mysteries are meant to stay hidden, and certain objects should never be touched. So, buckle up and prepare for a journey into the eerie, the terrifying, and the things that go bump in the night. Never miss a story that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Stay tuned, if you dare. Sometimes, the scariest stories are the ones that are rooted in reality. In a quiet corner of New York City, in an apartment that seemed too perfect to be true, a woman named Jessica unknowingly moved into a nightmare. Little did she know, the place she called home would soon turn into a prison, haunted by an unimaginable force. This is the chilling true story of the haunted apartment in New York. Jessica had just moved to New York City, looking for a fresh start. She had been dreaming of this moment for years, the bustling city, the endless opportunities, and the sense of freedom that only a new chapter could bring. After weeks of searching, she found a small apartment in a charming, historic building on the edge of a quiet neighborhood. The apartment was everything she had hoped for. The exposed brick walls, high ceilings, and antique wooden floors gave it an old-world charm, and the rent was more affordable than she expected. The location was perfect, close to the subway, local cafes, and the city's iconic skyline. It felt like the perfect place to begin her new life. On her first night in the apartment, Jessica couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement. She unpacked her boxes, arranged her furniture, and poured herself a glass of wine. The sound of the city below was comforting, and she finally felt like she belonged in this new, vibrant world. But as she settled into bed, something wasn't quite right. It was subtle at first, just a strange draft that seemed to circulate through the apartment, even though every window was tightly shut. The air felt heavy, and the warmth from the heater didn't seem to fill the room as it should. Jessica shrugged it off as a quirk of the old building and pulled the covers tighter around her. Still, as she lay there in the dark, there was a nagging sensation that she wasn't truly alone. It was as if something was watching her from the shadows. She told herself it was just the unfamiliarity of the place, the city's hum of activity seeping into her mind. But no matter how hard she tried to ignore it, the unease lingered in the back of her mind. A feeling that something was waiting, just beyond her awareness. As the days passed, Jessica tried to settle into a routine. Work, dinners, and weekends exploring the city kept her busy, but when she returned to the apartment each night, the unease remained. It wasn't until the second week that the noises began, at first, faint and subtle, like the soft tap of footsteps in the hallway outside her door. Jessica thought it was the building settling, the creaks of old wood and pipes. But every night, it grew louder. The footsteps would sound at odd hours, late at night, when she was trying to fall asleep. It was as if someone was pacing back and forth, waiting for something. The noises didn't stop there. Over the course of the next few nights, she began hearing whispers, soft, unintelligible voices that seemed to float through the walls. It was impossible to pinpoint the source, but they always seemed to come from the same direction, just beyond the walls of her apartment. And then there was the crying, a faint, eerie sound, like someone in pain, coming from somewhere down the hall. The cries seemed to echo through the narrow corridor, yet no one was ever there. Jessica tried to convince herself it was all in her head, but the sounds persisted. One evening, after hearing the cries again, she couldn't take it anymore. She decided to investigate. The hallways were dark, lit only by the faint glow of an old lamp at the far end. As she walked down the hall, the air grew colder, and the shadows seemed to stretch, closing in around her. When she reached the end of the corridor, she noticed something odd. A door that was always locked was now slightly ajar. Her curiosity got the best of her, and she approached the door, heart racing. The moment she pushed it open, the air inside the room seemed to shift, as if something had been disturbed. Inside the room, everything seemed oddly normal. Dusty old furniture, a few forgotten belongings, and the faint smell of something stale. But in the far corner of the room, an old, dusty mirror stood against the wall. Jessica stepped forward, drawn to it despite the growing sense of dread. As she wiped the condensation from the glass, her heart stopped. On the mirror's surface, scrawled in what looked like mist or fog, were the chilling words, "Get out." Her breath caught in her throat. She wiped at the mirror again, hoping it was just a trick of the light or her own imagination. But the words remained. It was clear now, something, or someone, wanted her gone. A shiver ran down her spine as the temperature in the room seemed to drop. Panic surged through her chest. She backed away from the mirror, but before she could leave, she heard the unmistakable sound of a door slamming shut behind her. Whipping around, she found the door to the room had slammed itself shut, trapping her inside. Jessica's mind raced as she frantically tried to open the door, but the handle wouldn't budge. It felt like something was holding it shut from the other side. After what felt like an eternity, she finally managed to pry the door open and stumbled back into the hallway, gasping for breath. The whispers and knocking stopped for a moment, but the tension in the air had only grown. Something malevolent was at work in that building. Jessica ran back to her apartment, but as she closed the door behind her, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was waiting for her, something that wasn't finished with her yet. Even after that terrifying encounter, Jessica couldn't escape the feeling of being watched. The noises grew worse. At night, furniture would shift on its own, and objects would disappear, only to reappear in strange places, on top of the fridge, in the middle of the floor. Her unease reached a breaking point one night when, while sleeping, she felt the cold, clammy grip of a hand on her shoulder. She woke with a start, turning to find the bed empty, but the coldness lingered, as though the hand had never left. It was as if something was trying to reach out to her, to claim her. Desperate for answers, Jessica started digging into the history of the building. She went to the local library, researching its past, and what she uncovered sent chills down her spine. The building had once been a home for elderly residents, but the records were patchy, and many details were missing. However, one name stood out, Margaret. Margaret had been an elderly woman who lived in the apartment before Jessica. She had been found dead in her room, but no one could explain how she had passed away. There were no signs of illness or injury. Some believed that Margaret had died peacefully, but others suspected something darker at work. It was said that Margaret had become obsessed with the room that Jessica had found. Her health had deteriorated, and her family had to move her out of the apartment, but she had refused to leave. As Jessica learned more about Margaret's life, she began to feel a connection to her. It was almost as if Margaret's spirit was trapped in the building, unable to find peace. Some even claimed to have seen Margaret's ghost wandering the hallways at night, her face twisted in anguish. Jessica couldn't escape the thought that the strange events were somehow connected to Margaret's restless spirit. And now, with the strange occurrences growing more violent, Jessica was starting to believe that the spirit was trying to communicate with her, and that it wanted something from her, something that only Margaret knew. Desperate to end the torment, Jessica reached out to a paranormal investigator. Together, they performed a ritual to help Margaret's spirit find closure and move on. The disturbances in Jessica's apartment stopped almost immediately. For the first time in weeks, she felt at peace. The footsteps, the whispers, the shadows, they all faded away. But as Jessica looked back on the haunting experience, she couldn't help but wonder, how many other restless spirits are still trapped in buildings just like hers? Could they be watching, waiting, for someone to come along and set them free? If you enjoyed this chilling tale, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss an eerie story from the Unspoken Files. We're just getting started, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Join the community of thrill seekers and stay tuned for more dark mysteries, true crime, ghost stories, and haunted objects that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Remember, the world is full of secrets waiting to be uncovered, and we're here to reveal them. Until next time, stay safe, and as always, keep your eyes open. Who knows what's lurking in the shadows?